Okay, thank you. Welcome back to Ideas at Work and Beyond. We have Scott Mason here. He's just been nominated to represent the Richfield Republicans in the election coming up this year. So before we left, before we went on break, we were talking about sodas. You know, would you like Pepsi or Coke? Actually, there is an issue with what company should be in a Richfield, Pepsi or Coke. Now, how did that become an issue?
It actually became, if I can go back a little bit, we faced this issue on the Board of Education about a year and a half ago when we were talking about whether we should take soda out of the school and just put in juices and waters, kind of like a nutrition topic that came up. And someone said, well, you know, if you want to change vendors, you have to have Coke in your schools. And I asked Dr. Friesize at that time, I go, you got to be kidding me. Why can't we have Pepsi or Coke or whatever we choose to put in our municipal buildings? He said because it's for the blind, the Handicap for the Blind Foundation or something up in Hartford, a law that goes back about 60 or 70 years, dated that in all municipal public buildings, it has to be Coke. And it's just one of those quirks in the law that's been on the books forever that is still there. And now it came up in Richfield, as you brought up, you know, about changing over to Coke and Pepsi, and that we have 120 members that work for, family members that work for the Pepsi Corporation in town. And Pepsi does a huge amount for our town through the schools, through youth sports. I mean, they do a lot of work, and people just think, well, it's right, just put Pepsi. Here's my thought on the idea. If I was first selectman, I don't think I would have gotten involved with this issue, to be honest with you. I think I might have checked on what the law is to see if it's a law and how we can go about changing it, because there are certainly channels that you go through to change law. If we have to try to conform to every group all the time for everything they want, we're always going to have some people happy and a lot of people upset with us. I think as a first selectman, what we have to do is we have to try to have a general consensus by the majority, and I would mean a great majority amount of the people in Richfield, that Richfield is being run the way they would like to see it run. As a first selectman, I am the boss of 25,000 people would become my boss. They are the people that elect you and put you in that office. So I have to answer to everybody. And again, what's best for the town. Town is important. Is important to always keep that in about what's best for the town. It might not be what the majority wants all the time. It's what's best for the town that should count.
Okay, good. I have another question for you in terms of the economic development of Richfield. To me, it looked like Richfield wants to move forward, but at the same time, like the old-timers probably trying to keep Richfield the way Richfield was. Now, there is an initiative going on right now, the Economic Development Committee. They just finished their marketing brochure, somehow intended to show off the town's commercial potential.
Right.
When I hear the word commercial potential, how is that going to, how you going to, not you, but so much like the town of Richfield, the first selectman office going to sell that to the residents? You're trying to you know, attract businesses to develop Richfield, but at the same time, there are certain elements that is going to attract. But I don't feel that Richfield is ready for that yet. So how are you going to deal with that?
That commission, if you will, was developed to help study the property for Schlumberger, which is off Grove Street. I believe they were the second highest tax-paying corporation in Richfield. Marty, help me. Help me.
Yeah, behind Boehringer Ingelheim.
Behind Boehringer Ingelheim. And they left, and they took a big burden of tax dollars, a big bucket of tax dollars, with them when they left. We need to somehow get business back in Schlumberger. I don't want to see houses and condominiums go up there. I want to see business go in there. That's what it was. It provides jobs. It can bring people from the outside to help support the community and the stores that we have in town. But again, we have to decide as a town what we want to be. If we want to stay the quaint little Ridgefield, and I'm not saying that you can't do it the other way either, but not develop commercially and not build up business, then we can't all run around and complain that our tax bill is too high. We have to be willing to support a certain amount of business, and there's not a lot of property. And in fairness to Rudy, there's not a lot of places to develop. There's Schlumberger, there's the Eureka, the Bennett's Pond property. With Route 7, if that eventually gets done, we've all know that. That's been long enough. I don't know what that exactly is zoned for, but we put businesses down there along with to help Ridgefield. We need to do something to take the tax burden off the homeowners. It can't be just with them at the percent that it is now. It's not fair.
Okay. Caller, you're in the air.
Hey, Ivan, it's Matt Grimes with live results from the Amber Room.
Hey, how you doing, Matt?
Hey, pretty good. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, thanks.
No, wait, you're calling from the Amber Room?
No, I had to go because there's no signal at the Amber Room with those of us with Verizon, so I had to go off-site to do that.
Okay, so you're in the parking lot of the Amber Room.
Yeah, close by, yeah.
Okay.
Is Mayor Mike Barton running again?
Yes, absolutely. There's no question about it. Very dynamic slate. I had never seen the Amber Room one side of it anyway. So crowded. I mean, there was over 200 people here tonight. A lot of red and blue balloons. A lot of celebrating former mayors Don Boughton and Jimmy Dyer. Whole slate of councilmen, all but one incumbent. It was a very exciting evening. Treasurer Dan Jowdy, City Clerk Gene Natale. But very, very lively, very upbeat, uplifting evening. Very similar to what we had in Brookfield at the Republican caucus Tuesday night. And Marty, I don't know if the Republican caucus in Ridgefield has been held yet.
No, actually, funny you mention it. Next Tuesday night at 8 p.m. at Scotts Ridge Middle School. That's when we'll have our
invited to attend,
shindig.
Okay. Well, listen, if you can, see if you can get the top slate to come on the show sometime the second week of September, okay?
Well, we'll talk about that, certainly.
All right, great. Oh,
Have a good rest of the show, guys.
thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
You've been talking about doing something in terms of economic development to hold down the taxes. And you mentioned the Bennett's Pond property. At this point, it used to be 600 acres. 450 acres was bought by the town for open space as an eminent domain initiative that Rudy pretty much led, or followed Rosa perhaps, but, he
I think
also
followed Rosa is a good way to put it.
Yeah, but he also led that. He put it together and pushed it through, and the remaining 153 acres, the town started an eminent domain proceeding with the goal, under some pressure from the Board of Finance, of making that some kind of industrial business development.
Park or something,
Yeah, the plan was economic development. And that is kind of on hold at this point because they took an appeal to federal court and all this. And now Eureka, the owners have proposed 509 units of affordable housing on the 150 acres. And I wondered what your feeling is you would do about that situation. Would you support Eureka's housing development? Would you try to return to an eminent domain taking? Would you just let the zoning commission handle it? What is your...
Good question, Mac. I don't think we need 509 housing units down there. But to think that nothing is going to happen there would be naive on my part. I think if the proceedings go the way they have, the way I think they're going to go through the courts, I think Eureka is going to get something there. I don't know what that is. Now they've run into some trouble with the water quality and the watershed that runs along there. So maybe I was quick to say that something is going to happen. But I think something is going to happen with Eureka, and if it doesn't happen with Eureka, maybe that's a good opportunity for us to take over and develop that commercially. Again, with Route 7 now being 2 lanes going both ways, you know, we have businesses down there. Pamby Motors is down there. We have the diner, the ice cream shop. Maybe if we could put more stores along that sector, if you will. There's the medical building that they're still working on. You know, the restaurant open up across the street. I should give that Lucille's. Yep. I don't need people to get mad at me before the election even starts. We need to do something there. We need to develop that property to help produce revenue for the town. Again, I'm just jumping in, Mac. You know, I just got appointed tonight, so I'm going to have to look at that. I've been reading articles on it. We took the open space, the first half, like you said. That was
Would you have supported that, or did you support
yes,
that?
I did support it. I voted. I thought that they could have maybe given the Parks and Rec Department the 10 or 12 acres that they wanted to put ball fields up there. That would have helped solve the problem for the youth that we had, and back then it was a greater need than it is today. Again, it was one of those things. It's nice to have the open space. I wish the rows of people, and I applaud their effort for the open space, but would have pushed the fields a little bit to help everyone. We could have helped more people. We could have satisfied more people, made more people happy if we did that. I was disappointed that the 10 or 12 acres for Parks and Rec for ball fields didn't happen. But I did vote for it.
At one point in the history, Rudy proposed a compromise plan where he was going to kind of cut a deal with Eureka and let them do a senior citizen housing. Would have been less dense than the 500 units. I think it would have been about 300 or something. But it was some hundreds of units of age-restricted housing and something like that. And it was put up before the town and voted down, as I recall.
I don't know, did that actually come to a town vote?
Well, there was one plan that did, right?
Yeah,
It did, okay.
I think because you mentioned the Board of Finance, the one big thing about what we're talking about, it's been called different things. Bennett's Pond South is what we're talking about. That remaining bit of property, that property is zoned commercial. And I think what you're saying over and over again is we need to have commercial development in town. Anyone, there have also been developers that have looked at the Schlumberger property that have wanted to develop that for real estate. I mean, anywhere where there's an open square foot of space in Ridgefield, there's 20 developers that'll want to put condos there. So I think the real question, and you alluded to that, is do we want to have more residential development with accompanying school students and all the residential services and the pressure on taxes going up, or do we want to have clean corporate development, research and development campus for Pitney Bowes, for example. They just recently set up somewhere. Do we want to have that type of commercial development that we will be able to reap commercial tax revenues for years to come?
Do you think you'd be able to get that, though?
I think we'd be able to get that. But you certainly won't be able to get that if you just kowtow to these residential developers that want to put up low-income housing. And by the way, and this is something you know as well, when they talk about low-income housing, some of these units are $500,000 and $600,000. You know, I don't know if that's low-income housing. I don't know what income they're talking about. But that's high-end townhouses that they want to put in there, and they want to put in Schlumberger. But I think what Scott is talking about is we need to develop corporate, low impact on the town, low impact on traffic development in some of these few areas that are zoned commercially, and that we're able to develop. And I think that's what you're going to make as part of the campaign. So I don't want to speak for you, but
I agree.
I mean, this is a key issue for Richfield, and I believe that Richfield will have to decide what they want in the next 4 years, because that's going to be a very crucial issue for Richfield? How do they want to move forward? Do you want to raise taxes, or do you want to bring in these commercial developers to to help with the revenue? So, having said that, what is your platform? What are you going to really focus on to drive home in Richfield?
Well, taxes is certainly an issue. This past year, our tax increase was 2.64%. I believe I could be off a percent or there too, 0.1%. Next year, it's predicted to be over 6%. You can't cut taxes to 2.64% when an election year is coming up, and then after you get in, if they get in again, if Mr. Marconi is reelected, jump it back up to 6.
Are you saying
that's
what Marconi is doing right now?
I'm saying what the Board of Selectmen did. They kept the tax rate with the Finance Board to 2.64%. It's what they've done. They cut the school budget $1 million, and they kept the town budget low. Now, just we go now with the debt that we're adding on and what we're going to handle next year, before the town really does anything as far as departments and stuff, I believe it's 6%. I believe that was forecast.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. That's what they're looking at now.
Projection.
As you project 12 months ahead. Yes.
So 12 has 6%.
But you do have a very motivated, intelligent, thorough board of finance that tends to look at these budgets,
and his name
see where there's savings that can be had, the best interest of the taxpayers at heart, and then we can sometimes pare that back. But I understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
It's also another one of my pet projects, if you will, is we have these things called unit ventilators that are in our East Ridge Middle School now that we have had problems with for 4 years. The Board of Education, and I think I can speak for everybody on it, is not going to approve that building project so the town can get reimbursed by the state. And Rudy, I know, has tried, but it's been 4 years, and the quality of education for kids in those rooms where they can't hear, the decibel level is too high. It's been tested in heat. It's finally been tested in cold with the air conditioning units running and with the heating units running. And kids in the back third of the classroom just don't hear the same instruction that kids in the front of the classroom gets. I certainly wouldn't ever support doing that. That problem needs to be fixed. If we were to put new ones in, it would take about a year to do. I think the cost, I don't want to scare people, but I think it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. We can go through a legal battle, and take the architectural firm and everyone that designed those to court, and we could be in court forever, 4 or 5 years. Well, during those 4 or 5 years, the education process at East Ridge Middle School is hindered for those students. It's not fair. It's not right. The townspeople gave the town and the school $115 million to build those schools. It should have been done the right way. It certainly should have been done the right way 4 years later, and it's not. We have other problems. We have the water issue at Borough Mountain, where the water line, they've been having bottled water now for 4 years. That's not right. If you're going to spend $115 million, it better be right when you're done, and it's not.
So what would you do about the unit ventilators at this point?
I'd replace them, Mac, because I don't think I'd replace them.
Tax dollars, money, and then go after the.
And then go after, and I'll fight that fight later. It's not fair to, like I said, to hinder the education process and those kids, and let them suffer while you're fighting a court battle. What would happen if we went to court and they said, they don't have to do anything? We still, in my opinion, have to fix that. It's part of the education process. The taxpayers paid money for that school for the renovation. It should work. It should be spanking new, and you shouldn't have a problem hearing the instructor or the teacher in the front of the classroom. It's not right. I'd replace them.
I've heard the current first selectman on a number of occasions say that these buildings are on time and on budget, and we're fine. You seem to be singing a different tune here.
It's 4 years later, and we have the same problem that we had 4 years ago. Does it take 4 years to fix something? I mean, I know there's processes, two processes you have to go through. I don't think it takes 4 years. That the water line at Barrow Mountain, that's got to get done. I know they're talking about it. They've been talking about it. I know there's state money that Rudy thinks that he could get to help with that project. We need to, you know, some things you
Try to
just
get the water company to pay for it.
right. Water. You got to move the problems ahead. You got to solve problems. It can't just be, well, we can't do it because of taxes. Sometimes something is right to do, and when it's right to do, you do it. It's just a fair thing to do for the people that are involved with whatever issue you're trying to
I
repair.
think from the Board of Finance point of view as well on these issues is we spend so much money on these school projects. It's actually upwards of $150 million if you add everything, all the renovations to the schools. And something in the order of 21%, 26% of that money that we spend, we get reimbursed from Hartford. But the only time we get reimbursed from Hartford is when the Board of Ed had signed off and said, yes, these
project's done.
The projects are done. They can't do it if kids can't hear in their classrooms. So what that means to the taxpayers is that there are millions and millions of our money in Hartford that isn't being released to us. So we have to borrow money against that. And I did the math. On an annual basis, it has cost the town upwards of about $300,000 just to pay the interest on the money that we're borrowing from that money that's tied up in Hartford because we're waiting for these ventilator things to be fixed or some of these loose ends that aren't taken care of.
And why are they not taken care of?
Well,
Is it lack of leadership? Is it incompetency? I mean, why is that?
Let me ask you a question. If you're going to have an addition put on your house, right, and you have a contractor come in and says, okay, it's going to be $100,000 to put an addition on your house, and you sign a contract with them, you don't pay them the $100,000 until the job is completely done
That is
and to
correct.
your satisfaction. That's just common sense. That's not what we had with these $150 million projects that we had. These contractors have been paid. There's no retainage left. There's no leverage for the town. There's nothing. So we sit here with
Well,
ventilators.
someone should be getting fired because
Well, we need leadership like Scott Mason to get in there and take
that's not
names
a
and
wise
start
business
kicking
move. It's not a wise. If somebody in the government of Richfield
Yeah.
is doing something like that, that is really costly to the resident
Well, that's
of
the
Richfield,
question that-
the person should be removed.
That I couldn't agree. I couldn't have put it any better.
That's why we need open government.
I'm with you. I agree with that 1,000%.
Because that's not common sense at all. It is not common sense at all. Now, we have 3 minutes. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to, if you have not said anything to the resident of Richfield, 2 minutes, for you to go ahead and communicate with them.
It's important for us as a town to decide what it is we want to do and where we want to go and how we want to journey to get to that destination. We need commercial development in our town if we want to lower the tax burden on residents. It's that simple. We need to do that. Now, I know some people will say, well, we don't want to develop the town anymore. Well, if that's your opinion and that's what you want to say, and you have the right to say that, you can't complain about your taxes going up all the time. You can't have it both ways. We need to do what's good for the town as a whole. We need to have, you know, in the paper, there was another article about Nikki Gaeta, a fireman who was applying to be fire chief, and the arguments they've had over firing, and it's a big, long story, and I won't go into it. If I was first selectman, that wouldn't have happened. My strength is I'm a people person. Come talk to me. I'll let you have your say. I might not agree with you. You will have your say. I will give you my opinion, and then I will tell you why we can or can't do it in my opinion. The Board of Selectmen is 5 people. They're there. They all have strengths and weaknesses on both sides of the line of what they're in. It takes 5 people to make that intelligence and focus where the town wants to go. Also, like I said, it's important that we allow, in some manner, the seniors to live in this town that have been here all their lives. It was their blood and sweat. They deserve to stay here. We need to do something with the tax structure to help make that happen at a greater rate than it is now.
Well, Mr. Mason, I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm also going to extend an invitation to you and Mr. McCorney, the current Richfield First Selectman, to have a debate right here on this show.
I accept. You tell me when and... As long as my wife says I don't have to take the child to dance class someplace, we're all set.
Okay, I will give them a call. Thank you very much.
All right.
For for
Good
coming.
job.
Thank you, Mac.
Okay.
Scott?
Thank you,
very
man.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Heiser.
And please come back. Please come back. Okay.
Often, I hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.